Yet another happy chapter added to Afghanistan's glorious campaign at this World Cup. Their fourth win, they go above Pakistan on the points table. They're now pushing for a top 4 spot. And the word that Dinesh Karthik has used to describe this chase is?
Surgical.
Surgical from Afghanistan. None of us expected anything else from them, did we?
It was one of those chases where from the moment they got going, it felt like they had it in control. A couple of unlucky dismissals, one down the leg, one inside edge, but it was a complete... And the word that's used consistently in these kind of chases is clinical, and it was a clinical chase. Jonathan Trott, you can see, has obviously instilled their middle orders into believing what it means to rotate strike and look at the other aspects of ODI cricket, and that is coming through very, very nicely when Afghanistan is batting.
They are trotting along, aren't they, Afghanistan? They are telling the world that this is an upgraded version of the Afghanistan cricket team of the old. Yes, they have flash, but they have a lot of control as well. There is that explosive side to them, but then there's also that control side to how they approach their cricket. 182 chase, and they do it in 31.3. They win by 7 wickets. Contributions from their captain, Hashmatullah Shahidi, not out for the third occasion, third consecutive time in this World Cup. This is, of course, his third half-century as well. Once again, the middle order does the job without breaking a sweat.
Yeah, I mean, 2 times on the trot now, won by 7 wickets, and it's been a professional display. They didn't get the best of starts. I thought the Netherlands with the bat started nicely and put Afghanistan under a bit of pressure, and all of a sudden the spinners came on and they got those run-outs. That's how to chase down that kind of total. I mean, you can be critical and say you could have chased it quicker, but I just think to chase down that kind of target with so much, they were never in any doubt. There was never a moment where I was watching thinking, oh, there's a little bit of a panic on here. They just had all the control. The Netherlands didn't have a great deal of kind of variation to go to. I think the ball skidded on a little bit more under the lights, a bit of dew. Afghanistan, 4 wins in this World Cup. I mean, I thought they'd win a couple of games in the World Cup. To think they've got 4, and they are now a genuine chance of making the semi-finals. I mean, there's Pakistan, there's Afghanistan, obviously. I look at tomorrow's game, England, Australia on 8 points, Afghanistan on 8 points, Pakistan could get to 8 points. You get the feeling that I want this World Cup to drag on a bit, don't you? That Afghanistan game against Australia now becomes an absolute beauty as well.
We will look at the points table, but well, today, right now, it's the man in focus is the Afghanistan captain, Hashmatullah Shahidi. Just the right kind of anchor man you need to hold a middle order that has a lot of explosive talent. You need someone like him to hold things together.
He's taken to captaincy really well. Yeah. He's been consistent from the time he's become a captain. You got to understand, Rashid Khan was the nominated captain before, but he kind of said, you know what, I'm done with this. I just want to play. So they went to Hashmatullah Shahidi, who has shown that he's a guy who's accepted leadership, and that's coming through with his batting. And we heard Michael say a lot of the times the leadership is given to a guy who's got the respect in the dressing room, and he comes across as a player who they respect and admire. In many ways, if you look at his batting, and if you had to dissect his batting, he's a good player of spin. Not the best against fast bowling, but what is beautiful about the way he's gone about things in this World Cup so far, he's understood his deficiencies, and he's aware of what he's good at, which is to probably just knock around the medium paces, don't do anything silly. If you remember this knock up front, there was a close LBW shout of Paul van Meekeren, and that could have been the end of him, but it was a decision that went in favour of him, and after that the spinners came on, and then his skill against spin came through yet again. But it's not the skill that matters always. It's always what happens between the years, and I think he's been really good in chases. They've chased 3 matches on the bounce now, and in all 3 matches he's remained not out, 50s on a couple of occasions, did well under pressure, and that's what you want as a leader. The best of leaders around the world sometimes have not been the most talented or not been the most consistent with the bat, but when it matters, they knuckle down, they do what's required for the team, and that's exactly what Hashmatullah Shahidi has done for Afghanistan.
He admires Kumar Sangakkara, and he's contributing to a very, very solid story for Afghanistan. He's, knowing what one can't do is such an underrated virtue, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, I mean, you mentioned Kumar, obviously being his idol, but he's a left-handed version of Jonathan Trott. That's the way Trott played in one-day cricket, just worked the gaps, 1s and 2s. Knew his boundary options, didn't have many of them, but knew exactly. Jonathan Trott, leg stump, he'd whack you through mid-wicket, get it square on the onside as well. He'd have a punch through extra cover. He hasn't got all the shots, but he knows exactly what his game's all about. He knows where his zones are. He knows exactly the boundary that he hit to win the game. Got inside the line, hit it over mid-wicket. There's a gap there. So, clever player, very calm. I think the white ball area is very much about the firecrackers and whacking it out the ground and striking at 130s, 150s. I always think there's still room for one player that can just be quite sensible and just give that foundation, and he's doing a brilliant job for Afghanistan.
Yes, there's this contrast in that partnership as well between Shahidi and Rahmat Shah as well. 3 half-century partnerships between these two at the World Cup. 74 of 77. Take a look at these. Every time these two get together, they ensure that Afghanistan end up on the winning side. Excellent combination, 2 different styles, but it's working really well for Afghanistan.
To put this into context, we need to go back a little bit. In the Asia Cup, they were paired in a they were put in a group which had 2 tough teams, Pakistan and Bangladesh, if I'm right. And unluckily, they didn't qualify.
Sri Lanka and Bangladesh it was.
Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. And unluckily, they didn't qualify to the next stage. Now, what you need to understand is at that stage, Rahmat Shah was becoming a bit of a liability. In the lead up to the Asia Cup, they had played Pakistan in Sri Lanka and he had an ordinary tour there. He had an ordinary Asia Cup, but they still stuck with him. And now he's coming good, and now you understand why he was backed as a player, because he is someone who can produce the goods. Yet again, they realize that, and you can look at his scores as well. When they have done well, Rahmat Shah is in the thick of things, and the partnership with Hashmatullah. 2 calm heads, one a right-hander who plays some good-looking shots. Ibrahim Zadran was the nominated big batter, if you could say. He was looking $1 million in the lead up to the World Cup. But it's actually been Rahmat Shah who's been the more consistent one. Come the big games, he's found runs, and he's forged a lovely little partnership along with the captain Shahidi. And both of them have looked the part. And the most beautiful part about them is they complement each other very well. One plays fast bowling well, one plays spin well, one's a right-hander, one's a left-hander. So all in all, it's quite a good partnership.
Goes about his batting without much fuss, Rahmat Shah.
Yeah, he does. Good player, good solid shots. I'm with DK in terms of, when you have a player that's obviously out of form or not getting the runs, if you believe in that player, give him plenty of games to get back into form, and they've got the fruits of that consistency of selection. Actually look at the whole tournament and top 6s. India's top 6 is all in good form. Shreyas Iyer and Shubman getting a few runs yesterday. South Africa's top 6 is in good form, confident mood. If Afghanistan, they probably haven't got the hundreds, they haven't got the big hundreds, but all that top 6 looks in decent order. And when you put the spinners in there, and then you get your kind of variations with your seamers as well, we probably haven't given them enough airtime in terms of those semi-finals, because they're not the standout, they're not the kind of the headline act, but all their players are in form. And when you've got to the stage now with 2 games to go in the kind of group stages, and you look down from 1 to 11, you go, wait a minute, everyone's playing well. You've got a chance of beating anybody on a given day when all your team arrive in a confident state, and that's exactly what Afghanistan have got.
It suits them, doesn't it, DK, to just stay under the radar bit by bit. They've kept chipping away at the big teams, and here they are knocking on a top 4 finish, possibly.
ODI cricket, it definitely suits them. In T20, they're always the big ticket team. They looked at the team that could upset anybody. ODI, everybody deep down knows, maybe not as strong as their T20 format, but this World Cup, they've shown the world what it means to really work on areas where you're not good at and improve and get better and do something special. And the middle order batting was their biggest problem. If you looked at stats pre-World Cup and in the first 4 games of this World Cup, a glaring stat for Afghanistan was, along with Sri Lanka, they were the poorest middle order batting team. And I think things would have changed, and he's come out and Michael's come out and said how good their batting has been. It wasn't the case before, but that's where they've corrected. They've understood and probably learned and improved how to play those middle overs. And there was a lot of talk in the lead up to the World Cup. The teams that do well between 11 and 40 will have a good chance. Afghanistan is a good example of a team having achieved that.
And they've gone about their business very, very confidently, very calmly. They've shown the world that they can chase down any score under pressure. The needle seems to have moved for this team. Take a look at that. The last 3 wins chasing, in fact, all 4 of them chasing, 3 of them chasing, sorry. The one against England is when they won by 69 runs, didn't allow England to get going. Take a look at that. Australia and South Africa next. Australia in Mumbai, South Africa in Ahmedabad.
Well, I just look at that first game against Bangladesh. The game that they were just a little bit cold. Probably on the back of the Asia
Cup, yes.
Cup, and obviously since then they've played some pretty good cricket and got the 4 victories. But spin against Australia is always a handy tool to have. And
no Glenn Maxwell possibly.
And they've got
maybe he'll recover.
Maybe bad, but they've got 4 spinners that could trouble the Aussies. The Aussies have a talented group of batters. But with no Mitchell Marsh, who I believe is a brute against anyone, he can smack any bowler out the ground. Warner's a busy player against spin. Maxwell can be a genius against spin. I feel the rest of the Australian batting lineup you can bowl spin to. So, yes, it's Mumbai, it's a good pitch, but I think that's going to be a close game.
And South Africa would have qualified by the time they played their last game.
Going to rest everyone.
Look, I think one game at a time. I think Australia is the big one for them because only if they beat Australia do they stand a chance of getting into the semis. So for them, they need to do that. And they'll regret the fact how they played the first game. That will always come back to haunt them if they lose it by a game because that's the game they know could have definitely, had it gone their way, they'd be looking at this whole table very differently. But credit to them. I think the fact that we're speaking about their team in the same breath as other teams like India, South Africa, New Zealand and Australia will actually keep them in good stead and will make them really proud of their achievements in this World Cup. It's been their best World Cup. We keep saying they're very good in T20, but I don't think they've done so well in T20 World Cups either in terms of the number of wins. So here is a team that is really on the up and it's good to see that happening. World cricket needs many stories like Afghanistan, Netherlands and Nepal and it's good to see Afghanistan do so well today.
Good teams need to look forward as well. They can't sit back on these 4 wins regardless of what happens from here on. They will look back at this World Cup with a smile on their faces. But the way forward, what are the areas they need to work on?
Probably, I mean, different conditions around the world, you probably want a couple of quickies. You know, if you go to South Africa, Australia, England, you need a little bit more in terms of the pace department. But in this part of the world, with a little bit of grabbing the surface, the 4 spinners are a great combination. And I guess the batters, it's always the moving ball. If the ball zips around, if they suddenly face a good attack at the Wankhede against Australia, it starts to swing and seam like we saw last night. How's that batting lineup going to kind of face up? And that's always the challenge. You know, on some of these pitches, you can get away with certain techniques that you can't get away with when the ball starts to move. So they've done great. They've done incredible. But you know, Jonathan Trott won't be in that dressing room going, right, we celebrate 4 wins. He'll generally believe, and so will the team, that they can win 2 more games.
You reckon English counties will fancy looking at some of these players?
Well, they earn more money playing in the franchise league, so
They're all too busy.
They're also sought after. Yeah. The 100 tournament that we play in August, I would think that quite a few of them will be sought after. They're a great, and I think what they do is so well is that they create that real spirit. They're fighters. They've got their legends, Rashid Khan in particular, who is such an ambassador for the game, but a great ambassador for Afghanistan, because every time he puts an Afghanistan shirt, and by the way, he's earning millions playing in all these franchise leagues around the world. When he puts that shirt on for Afghanistan, it weighs on him. He's so proud, you can see it, which is he's great. When you've got your star player representing your country with that much passion and energy, that just drives the culture through the dressing room. So they're very lucky to have him, and he's driving that team. Even though he's not the captain, he really is the driver of this Afghanistan team. Yeah,
they love him here in India. It's so good to see Afghanistan get so much support wherever they've played at this World Cup in India. What about the Netherlands? They lost to a better side. Did they lose this game at the toss? Wrong call?
No, I think the call was good. I think where they lost it was at the end of 10 overs, they were 66 for 1. And after that, the 4 run-outs. That's where the game completely slipped away. They could have easily got 260, 265. The game would have been different. When you are doing so well up top and then you lose 3 on the bounce in that second phase of 11 to 20, you kind of give the opponent a massive chance in, and Afghanistan took it with both hands. And then the spinners came through, and then we all know how good the spinners can be. Not for a moment I'm going to believe that Netherlands is any less than Afghanistan. For the day, definitely Afghanistan were a better team. I think in the long run, both will constantly compete against each other because both have similar qualities in terms of how they look together as a team and fight as a unit. So I have a lot of time for Netherlands. I believe they're a good team. They've done some good things in the World Cup. A couple of their losses have been very heavy. I think Australia outplayed them in Delhi the other day. Today it was Afghanistan and Lucknow. But the games prior to that, they won against South Africa. They convincingly beat Bangladesh. And at the start of the tournament, Pakistan, they really pushed the team as well. So they've played a few good games. And I think Netherlands will be very proud of their efforts as well.
Yeah, just a story of not having enough runs on the board. Look at the bowling card. Will tell you that they tried. They tried a lot. Used 6 bowlers. Arindat looked to be varying his pace. He was trying a lot of things. Didn't work. A wicket each for Logan van Beek. Roelof van der Merwe got that wicket bowled as well. And then Saqib Zulfikar, the softest missile, cotton bowled as well. Could they have tried something else?
No, not really. I mean, we've got to be fair to them. They've done great in the World Cup, but they're going to have days like this. You know, that's the level that they're at. They come up against an Afghanistan team on a pitch that's just doing something for the spinners. Panic, run-outs, not communicating correctly. That happens. That's the level where they're at. They're competing. You know, that's all you ask sometimes of the lesser teams. Just make sure you fight, you compete. There was never one moment that I thought, oh, the towel's been thrown in. Last night, Sri Lanka, I saw the towel got thrown in. And I never ever want to see in any sporting team the towel get thrown in.
Yeah.
Sri Lanka last night did that.
Yep.
The Netherlands don't do that. You feel that they're fighting. Some days they get outskilled. Today they were outskilled by a better team on the day, but they can be really proud, and they've still got 2 games to go, and they've got 2 opportunities to do what they did to South Africa, which I'll go back to what I said before the show. That will be the one game that we look back on at the end of the World Cup and go, how did that happen? The Netherlands beating South Africa.
Yeah, well, they've got England and India in their remaining 2 games. Who would you pick as man of the match today?
Good question. I think I think I'd go for either Rahmat Shah or
the president?
Mohammad Nabi.
What about the
It
president?
was beautiful, yes. Mohammad Nabi was between Rahmat Shah. Rahmat Shah I liked because of how he approached his inning. But, 50 versus 3 wickets, I think you're right. Mohammad Nabi is a better choice for today.
I'm giving
Pick
it
him
the
as well?
Yeah, the Prez, yeah, definitely. Got to run out. Is it 3 for? 3 for?
3 for.
3 for.
Perfect.
Yes, Nabi it is, in fact. So, well done. The choice was obvious for most people, and the right call has been made. Afghanistan march on. Where do they find themselves on that points table? They are at number 5, I reckon, after this win. Just above Pakistan. They both played the same number of games. However, Afghanistan have won 1 game more than Pakistan. It looks like it is a 3-way race or possibly a 4-way race for the 2 spots, assuming South Africa will qualify. For number 3 and 4, it's between Australia, New Zealand, Afghanistan and Pakistan. And this result would have perhaps made Pakistan a touch nervous, DK.
I guess so. As Michael was saying, I remember he said there should be some problem, and that's what gets the better. Maybe this is the problem. Afghanistan is coming close to them. So, they need something. They're quite the team that.
Yeah, well, you want to pick your top 4 at this stage. It's still not over. I mean, just 3 spots up for grabs.
I think it'll be what it is. I hate to say it, even though I want Pakistan to get in there. I think it'll be the 4 that's there now.
Right, moving on. Match number 36 at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad. It is the Ashes rivalry. England versus Australia. Both teams have had very, very different campaigns. England on the verge of perhaps not possibly qualifying for the Champions Trophy. Against India, they were really, really poor with the bat. Runs not coming. What's happening to England? Ben Stokes used the word crap for how they've been.
He was being nice. They've just not arrived, have they? They've got beaten in the first game against New Zealand. That can happen. Then you go to the game against Afghanistan, make a decision at the toss. At the end of the game, probably wasn't the right decision. Swapping and changing to the side. Dynamics around the dressing room. I'm not too sure what's going on in the dressing room, but clearly it's not right. Because when you see so many players out of form at the same time, something's not right within the environment. They've still got a big game tomorrow, though, because that 2025 Champions Trophy, it would be a disaster if England don't finish in the top 7 in this World Cup to make sure that they're a part of that 2025 Champions Trophy.
Or top 8. Even if they finish 8, they'll be there.
Well, yeah, so they've got to jump two more places from where they are, which is bottom of the tree now. So they've got to win 2 out of the 3 games, and they play the Aussies. It's always a big game. Whatever the game of cricket, England, Australia, it's a monster game. There's been plenty of sets in the Ashes, in books, in interviews. The Aussies have had a go, England have had a go. They still talk about the Johnny Bairstow incident at Lord's. That'll get brought up on the pitch tomorrow. I have no question about that. So it'll be a great spectacle. England have had a little bit of fortune this week. Mitchell Marsh going home, unfortunately. Glenn Maxwell. These golf course injuries seem to be quite popular and kind of trendy. England had one with Johnny Bairstow. So those 2 players, for me, I think give England a great chance of actually doing something tomorrow, because they're 2 players that are in form, doing well in this World Cup, and the Australians will miss them massively.
Australia have won 4 on the trot. They're eyeing a semi-final berth as well. But England, if they lose this game, it will be curtains from them from the World Cup. Let me get a neutral
perspective. They can still qualify. I've been on this chair for about a week and everyone keeps saying, I'm looking at the league saying, how?
Well, statsmen will tell you whatever, but they will be eliminated, if they lose tomorrow. Let me get a neutral perspective on what happens when Australia play England. Doesn't it become more of Australia media versus England media?
I think the hype is generated all around the match. I think when they play the match, obviously they're trying to have a go at each other and do whatever they can to win. But must admit, it's one of the greatest rivalries this sport has seen and that this sport will keep seeing. And there is obviously India-Pakistan, which will always be one of the big ones as well. But Australia-England has so much history and tradition, and we all know a lot of what cricket is today is because of that rivalry, and it continues in World Cups as well. It's always known.
Is it bigger than India versus Pakistan?
No.
No, I feel.
I didn't ask you.
No, that's the answer. Well,
I mean,
Go on, go viral. Say yes.
India-Pakistan is bigger, no doubt about it. But yes, it's quite the game. I mean, I was lucky enough to be part of the Ashes, and what an Ashes it was. So you can see that, both teams don't shy away from giving a blow to each other at every given point. And right now, Australia is flying. England, on the other hand, are really struggling. But here's an opportunity for them to salvage. I'll tell you this, Michael. There have been World Cups at times where the fans maybe don't, they don't like it, but they don't mind losing the semis or something, but they want India to beat Pakistan. Is that something like that in England? It's okay, we've had a bad World Cup, but at least beat Australia.
I think if you ask me now, which team would, on the back of a really poor World Cup, which team would you want England to play tomorrow to try and get a performance? It's Australia. Because those players will go to bed tonight and they know. They know that you have to produce it against Australia. If England turn up tomorrow and they look like the team that capitulated against India, struggled against Afghanistan hugely, and have played such poor cricket and not really competed. If they do that tomorrow against Australia, the knives will be out. They really will be out. If they compete tomorrow and they beat the Aussies, I'm not saying it's all rosy once again. They've not had a great World Cup, but if they can win tomorrow, I think they'll beat the Netherlands, and I think they'll really compete against Pakistan in the last game. They win the last 3 games to qualify for the 25 Champions Trophy. At least you've grabbed something back. But there's got to be competition. They've got to be competing. And that's what the England fans will be looking for tomorrow. It's Australia. Because if England beat Australia tomorrow, it puts Australia in a position of, wait a minute, we might not qualify for the semi-finals. If you can do that, I'm not saying they've done the job in this World Cup, but they've done a half-decent job of making sure that Australia aren't smiling all the time. So it's a big, big game, always, even in a situation that England find themselves now.
yes, they need to come out firing. Changes for them. The batters didn't do the job against India. They lost that game by 100 runs. Is there a way to bring Harry Brook in?
I think there's a simple way. I mean, Ben Stokes has announced today that he needs an operation on his knee. He said he's going to have it at the end of the World Cup. I'm amazed that he's not going home now to have it. We've got 3 games left in the World Cup. The games that he's played, he's looked in no form whatsoever. He's not playing great cricket. He's not bowling, understandably, because his knee's not right for him to bowl. I'd have just made a sensible decision. Go and get your knee sorted. Give yourself an extra couple of weeks. Make sure that you're fit for the Test series against India at the end of January. He said himself today that he hopes to be fit for the I'd take the hope out of the equation. Get home, get it sorted, let Harry Brook come into this side. I said the other day that England need to reset. And they need to reset by bringing players like Gus Atkinson in, maybe Cars. Moeen Ali's really struggled in India. 9 games, he's got 1 wicket. He averages 344 with the ball. So is Mo in the future in terms of 50-over cricket for England? Probably not. Those that are in the group now, that England really believe are going to be a part of the group going forward, they have to play in the last 3 games because it's a reset moment. It happened in 2015, yes, after the World Cup, where Owen Morgan and his team got a group of players together and they stuck with them for 4 years. England have got to try and make that decision, whether they do or they're not. If you said to me now what team's going to play tomorrow, I've no idea. I honestly haven't got a clue because throughout the whole World Cup, I've been looking at the team going, that's odd. When David Willey went to bat at number 7 against South Africa, England have always been known to bat deep. Willey bats at 9. Yeah. Batted at 7 against South Africa. It's like, where's that come from? So I have no idea which team will be picked tomorrow, but I just hope that they realise this is the moment to reset. Don't leave it till after the World Cup. You don't need to.
Similar problems for Australia as well, at least when it comes to selection. Glenn Maxwell likes to play golf and gets injured in the middle of a World Cup. Mitchell Marsh has gone home to Perth for personal reasons. Cam Green and Stoinis in? Because the other options are Carey and Sean Abbott.
Yeah, I think those are the 2 options that you just spoke about. It will be Cameron Green and Marcus Stoinis in. But what will be interesting, and we were discussing about it off air, can they send Cameron Green at number 3? A, it'll get the best out of him. And B, it also gives the consistency for Marnus Labuschagne and Steven Smith to bat in 4 and 5, which will again happen if Mitchell Marsh comes back into the team. Or are they going to go back to what used to happen, which was Steven Smith at 3, Labuschagne at 4? Green at number 6 at this point of time. I would really hope that Australia think that Cameron Green is a guy who can actually create an impact at number 3. He's done well in the IPL. He has the knowledge of doing well at number 3 in India, and that should count for something. And he's an attacking batter. He's someone who'll just keep taking the game forward, just like where a Head or a Warner has left off. So I would think that he's a very, very useful proposition to be used at number 3.
Green, a 3 for you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's a brilliant player. And over the last few months, he's gone from being an incredible player to suddenly out of all 3 formats for Australia, the Test team, the 50 overs and the T20 team. But, if your blueprint was just a week ago where they got 388 against New Zealand to have Warner, Head and Marsh, 3 crackers at the top of the order, and then you've got Smith at 4 and Labuschagne at 5, in my eyes, you've got to keep that blueprint. So Cameron Green, I think England would like to see Cameron Green down the back end because you can bowl spin to him. I think when he goes out there against spin to start with, he can churn up a few balls. He can churn up a couple of overs and pressure starts to build at the top of the order. As you saw him from Mumbai against the white ball, he can go. And he's one of those players that when he goes big. So I'd have Green at 3, Stoinis down in the middle to replace Glenn Maxwell. I think they'll miss Maxwell's overs.
Oh, yes.
Not just his batting. I think they're going to miss those overs. He's been bowling beautifully with his off-spin. So I think they've got to find some overs, Australia, without Glenn Maxwell. So that's going to be interesting.
Players to watch out for very quickly, one each.
Go on, you go first.
I'm looking forward to watching Harry Brook bat. From England, for me, it's Harry Brook. From Australia, I would love to see Warner get another 100.
I'm going to go Adil Rashid against Australia, leg spin. And for the Aussies, I'm going to go Cam Green. And I think he'll bat at 3.
Wow, interesting game. Should be a fun Saturday evening. Cricbuzz Live will be back in English and Hindi as well. But before we say goodbye, the answer to Joy Factor, let's remind ourselves of what the question was. A tricky one, that one from Joy Bhattacharya. This cricketer took 9 wickets on his Test debut, but was still not adjudged player of the match, thanks to a century by the other debutant from his team. Name both. None of us had any clue. So very
I found it on Twitter.
Pat Cummins.
No. The answers came to me on Twitter and I was shocked that I didn't think about it. The answer is actually Mohammad Shami, who took 9
West
wickets.
Indies.
Yes, and Rohit Sharma got 100 on that game.
Kolkata.
Yeah, so that was the game.
Well done.
Wow.
Well done to whoever it was on Twitter. Who was it? We can only pick one winner for a thumbs up from Joy Bhattacharya. Tarini Prasad Sahu, who can now go Yahoo because he or she has won the Joy Factor for Friday night. Thank you very much, DK.
Thank you very much, Michael, and have a good day tomorrow in Ahmedabad.
Thank you. It's for an England victory.
Yeah, no visit to the salon tomorrow morning?
No, tomorrow. I think DK is going, actually.
Well, Michael Vaughan has been frequenting some really expensive salons and restaurants in Mumbai while he takes a Kali Pili to wherever he has to go.
If anybody has any doubts on where to get facials done, cryotherapy, reach out to Michael Vaughan on Twitter.
Michael Vaughan is your new image consultant. Services available on Twitter. Payment accepted only in pounds. I get none of it, so there is no agency commission here. We're done for the day, ladies and gentlemen. Sayami Kher, the wonderful Sayami Kher, the very talented Sayami Kher, will be in this chair tomorrow. She'll have ZK and DK on the show. I'll be in the Hindi studio with the amazing Virendra Sehwag and Ashish Nehra. 1:30 p.m. Cricbuzz Live, English and Hindi. See you then. Bye for now.